Have you ever spotted a sea cow feast on veggies? At the Beauval Zoo, seagrass and algae are not on the menu. But the marine mammals don't seem to mind. They are the biggest consumers here. These vegetables didn't make it to supermarket shelves and ended up on the animal's plate. Jojo, the senior chimp, is munching on French beans and cucumbers. He's fed 5 times a day with unsellable fruit and vegetables.
That's one less thing for factories to deal with. It's just nature's cycle at work.
People don't want damaged food, so we might as well let the animals enjoy it.
This is one of the largest zoos in the world. It's home to 35,000 animals that eat 7 tons of food every week.
Tu veux manger une salade, toi?
Non, mais on contrôle au pire.
Michel came from his nearby farm with lettuce deemed unfit for supermarkets. Too small, too light, supposedly too ugly.
One lettuce has to weigh 400 grams in the shops.
And here?
Here it's 250 grams.
Non-compliant goods are cheap, but the zoo's huge demand gives local farmers a steady income.
This is the park animals' fridge. We have seasonal fruits, melons, peaches, strawberries, plums.
In France, up to 40% of fruit and vegetables are discarded annually, only because of cosmetic standards.
Perhaps it bothers housewives to peel wonky cucumbers.
Although aesthetics don't matter to animals, quality is a must. Humidity levels, ripeness, bruising, everything is carefully checked.
Honestly, I would eat any of the fruit and vegetables in this fridge. It's exactly the same quality as for humans.
The zoo's food manager says nothing goes to waste here.
Out of 7 tons of food, here's what's left. And that goes to the hens.
Chickens, a simple, sustainable solution. Once common in our back gardens, city life has made them disappear. But here in Buchan, north of Paris, hens are the stars of the village, survivors cherished by locals.
The hens come from an organic farmer who gets rid of them at 18 months. We take them so they don't go to slaughter.
Alice offers retired hens a new life in a communal chicken coop that she set up 10 years ago. A dozen hens can eat up to 150 kilos of food scraps a year, reducing the village's waste by around 20%.
I give them all my leftovers. I don't have a black bin at home. They eat everything, apart from bones.
A retired hen can still produce at least 1 egg every day.
They taste great. We know where they come from. They're free range.
The hens can run freely across an orchard of 600 square meters.
There are pears, plums, cherries. The hens eat what falls on the ground. They keep wasps and mosquitoes away, and also keep our land clean.
In France, one person wastes roughly 60 kilos of food every year. Households are responsible for over 40% of the country's total food waste. Agriculture and food processing each account for 22%. The rest comes from restaurants and distribution. This is the first supermarket chain in France to set up anti-food waste corners with short expiry dates, labeling errors, or damaged packaging. An idea sparked by one single fruit.
Take bananas. You look at them and say, this one's a bit bruised, I don't like it, and you take it off. Bananas are the biggest seller in fruit and veg worldwide. So when you end up with too many single bananas, you have to find solutions.
7 years ago, the supermarket teamed up with a mobile app where customers can buy cheap goodie bags, not only from supermarkets, but also coffee shops, bakeries and restaurants.
These food baskets are worth €12, but you can buy them for €4.79. Instead of throwing these goods away, we've found a way to give them a new life. It's a win-win for users and for shops.
Since the creation of the app in 2016, 100 million bags of food have been saved across France.
We've noticed that everyone's getting involved. Young people, old people, the wealthy, less wealthy. Mindsets are changing.
But for some customers, there's still room for improvement.
I think it works best for families. It's not always well adapted to people living on their own.
On one hand, it's a good thing, but on the other, it means charities like Secours Populaire get a lot less food.
In France, large supermarkets are legally required to donate their unsold edible food to charities, a minor contribution when worldwide 1 billion tons of food are wasted every year.
That report from Environment editor Aurore Dupuis, who joins me on the set. Aurore, how does France compare to other countries in the world when it comes to dealing with food waste?
Well, around the world, an estimated 1 billion meals are wasted every single day. Not every year, every day. And at the same time, 735 million people live with chronic hunger. According to the UN Environment Programme, China, India, and the US waste the most food. So as you can see in the graph there, Chinese households throw away more than 100 million tons of food every year, meaning that one person in China wastes roughly 76 kilos of food every year. France, as you can see, is at the bottom of that list there, with nearly 4 million tons of food wasted annually. That's around 60 kilos per person. So in all, 1/5 of the world's food is actually wasted, and this generates up to 10% of greenhouse gas emissions. And it costs a lot of money, right? Because you have to pay for the collection and the management of this waste. Now, sorry, the food waste actually costs global economy $1 trillion every year.
So given all that, what can be done to actually reduce food waste?
Well, if we take a look at the countries that have managed to do so, I'm thinking about Japan, South Korea, and even the UK, for example, they have implemented some strict policies. For example, separating food waste from the rest of the rubbish, or mandatory reporting for the entire food supply chain, from farmers all the way down to businesses. Now, the EU has actually vowed to halve food waste by 2030. But will we reach that target? We are working on it, but as we've seen earlier, households do waste the most food. So we could do with more awareness campaigns aimed at consumers, encouraging people to plan their purchases and not to overcook. Now, I know what you're thinking. Some of us have children. What should we do when they don't want to finish their plate? Well, you could give them to, I don't know, your pets, for example. I've got a beagle at home, and he's like a hoover. I mean, he hoovers, he inhales any food that I give him. Of course, you have to be careful with what kind of foods you give to your pets. But there are other ways. You can turn your leftovers into another meal, for example. There's an Australian website that gives you free tips, free recipes to fight food waste. If you have a bruised or an ugly fruit, you can make smoothies or a tart with it. And also, did you know, Jeannie, that you can check your eggs' freshness by placing them into cold water? If it floats, don't eat it. If it does not float, it means it's still okay, even if the expiry date is gone. So there are loads of recipes and tips that you can find online to use your odd beetroot with your expired feta cheese.
All right, I'm going to remember that egg tip. Okay, so you've been looking at initiatives, of course, here in France, but what other ideas are there out there we can think about?
Well, after sea cows and chickens that we saw in that report, brace yourselves for black soldier fly larvae. These are tiny insects that can eat 4 times their own weight in organic waste. And they basically work like compost worms because they turn your waste into sustainable fertilizer. So that's great for farmers and crops. In Lithuania's capital, Vilnius, fly larvae do have an official job. 6 million of them process up to 2,700 tons of food waste every year. And the waste management company says that the city is actually saving up to 2 million euros a year thanks to the maggots. Now, in Dubai, a digital platform is now diverting food from hotel kitchens to local farms and transforms it into compost as well. Very useful in a country where it is a challenge to grow food in largely sandy soil. soils, right? Now, I'm also going to talk to you about an American and Malaysian inventors who have come up with special stickers that slow down the ripening process of fruits like apples and mangoes. And they say that these stickers are not toxic. They're made of plant extracts with beeswax, and they have a natural coating that fights germs and that can keep your fruit fresh for an extra 2 weeks. Now, meanwhile, some companies are also turning to AI, artificial intelligence, to reduce edible food waste. For example, in a chocolate factory, you might have broken chocolate bars, and instead of throwing them away in the bin because they're still edible, you can spot them straight away with AI and redistribute them to charities. For supermarkets, AI tools can also help them predict demand according to the weather, the holidays, the trends, and so that will, in the end, in the future, optimize their stocks.
Aurora, thank you so much for taking that look at how best to deal with the growing problem of food waste. Aurora Dupuy, our environment editor. Thanks to you. Thanks to you for watching France 24.